food. Burying nothing.
Are you a little food hoarder?
He loves digging up the linoleum to bury his kibble in there.
We feed you consistently. We've never not fed you.
Like, to the minute you get your meals. 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock at night, 8:30 is treats time.
And yet, you're a little monster.
For well over half of your life, you have experienced consistent feeding. Twice a day. It could be twice a month. Like new episodes of Soon to Be a Major Motion Podcast. That's right. It's another episode of the show where we read books that are turned into movies and watch movies that are based on books. I am a host, Billy Beck.
I am also a host, Codie Beck.
And Codie, it's been 2 weeks since I've talked to you. It's been 1 week since I've talked to you because a new episode of The Treatment is out now called Cassandra. Cassandra is the one that came out today.
Man, you are just breaking kayfabe all over the place, babe.
Bro, I'm doing my best. Speaking of kayfabe, Mania was last weekend. How was that?
Mania was a
WrestleMania,
blast.
I should say. Not like a manic episode of me, but WrestleMania was last weekend.
Yes, WrestleMania 41. Night 1 was pretty solid. Night 2 seemed like kind of all the afterthoughts.
Yeah, Night 1 was definitely better. And that's because I'm a CM Punk girly. So, enjoying that. He got his main event, the Paul Heyman on a pole match, which was won by Seth Rollins.
Meanwhile, me, the fucking Seth Rollins architect, shitty heel, greasy, evil Seth Rollins is back. The architect is back, baby. I am thrilled. I'm so excited.
Looking at the signed print of a piece of Seth Rollins art over there.
Yeah.
Below the art of his wife, Becky Lynch, who came back from her hiatus, which is nice to see her.
And also turned heel.
Yes, she did on Monday night. But yeah, no, good wrestling weekend. I had a lot of fun. Stand and Deliver, the NXT show was good too. Even though I was knocked on my fucking ass all weekend. I was so sick.
Yeah.
Had to take a day off work. If you know me, I do not take days off work for being sick very often. I gotta be done. So I stayed home and watched Magic Mike XXL, which is one of the best dance movies ever made.
Friend of the pod, Elizabeth Banks is in it.
Yeah, friend of the pod, Lizzie Banks. Friend of wrestling, Gabriel Iglesias. He was showing up at all the events all weekend, and I'm like, hey, it's the guy from that movie.
Yes.
I saw you doing something else in the last couple weeks.
Did you?
So, like, every day, you'd come home, pick up a book from the library, get very angry, and put the book down. Codie, what book have you been reading that has made you so angry?
For the last 2 weeks, I have been reading Howard Hughes, The Secret Life by Charles Higham.
I can see you vibrating. I can smell something on your breath, and it smells like rant. Do you have a rant for me? Do you need to rant about this book and its subject for a little bit?
Yes.
I will let you to it.
I know that this is the Scorseason, and it's mostly about the director. But I just want to go on the record and say, fuck everyone who was involved in the production of this book. Fuck this author. Fuck this guy that he wrote about. Fuck Martin Scorsese for making the fucking movie and popularizing this guy. Oh my god. Howard Hughes is a fucking monster. The movie, which I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself here.
Yeah, how about keep it to the book? You didn't watch the movie.
I did not watch the movie.
You also said some things that are factually incorrect there, so
this book is a little over 300 pages long, the copy of it that I have. It was published in 92, and it is a critically acclaimed biography by a critically acclaimed biographer, and it is one of the worst books that I have ever read. It was not entertaining. The only time it got close to being entertaining was when he was talking about Watergate, and that was within the last 60 pages. He's inconsistent. There is no consistency in the way he talks about times, places. He gets things wrong in references. he repeatedly refers to the island that Howard Hughes owns that is more or less a CIA secret base of operations, and he interchangeably refers to it as both Sal K and K Sal, but also backwards. Like, he will also call it, he switches the S and the C. Sometimes it's Sal K, sometimes it's K Sal, sometimes it's Sal K. It's minor, but it drove me crazy every time because I thought it was a different place. He also quotes sources and then talks about why the source is not reliable, and then later quotes that same source talking about how reliable they are. The most egregious point that he does this is he's talking about how there was one guy one woman that Howard Hughes slept with who claimed that he was impotent, and the person who was reporting it was this dancer's chef. And the author talks about how, well, you know, maybe he wasn't impotent, maybe he just didn't want to have sex with her. And then on the next page, he quotes the same guy again, talking about how manly the guy is and saying how reliable a source he is. You don't get to have it both ways, bro. He also, the pacing of this book is wild. He will sometimes put in specific dates, and then sometimes it'll be hundreds of pages and there's not a specific date in anything. He uses names, introduces people, and then later reintroduces them, or never introduces them and just starts using their name. It is wildly frustrating to read. There's a lot of stuff that he pulls in about both Ava Gardner and Katharine Hepburn, which I found out he actually wrote biographies of both of them, which explains why he has so much focus on Katharine Hepburn and Ava Gardner specifically. But sometimes it will literally just be pages, and it reads like, he had sex with this woman, and then he went here, and he did this to this woman, and then he went here, and he did this to this woman, and he had fucking binders full of women. And I'm just like,
God damn it.
Reading this book was one of the most frustrating experiences of my life. I like reading biographies. I like reading memoirs. This is poorly written. I am low-key convinced that it might be a CIA conspiracy to disabuse people of the notion that Howard Hughes actually was connected to Watergate because it's that poorly done. It was also so fucking difficult to find a copy of this.
There are 2 in the house right now.
Yes. I requested the copy from the LA library, and it took 5 days to get here because they had 1 copy at the Central Library. I requested it from the Burbank Library, and they had it at the Buena Vista, not the Buena Vista branch, they had it at the primary location, which is on 3rd Street. I get there, I find it, and then the system won't let me check it out. It was like the universe was telling me this was not going to be an enjoyable experience.
If you are interested in reading it, it is available in full for free on archive.org.
Free is the correct amount of dollars to pay for this.
What libraries are for.
Fire. Flames on the side of my face.
So I liked the movie. Next week we're going to be talking... Oh, wait, no, we're not there yet? Nope, jump the gun a little bit.
I am fascinated to see how you could enjoy this story and how Martin Scorsese made this fucking monster of a man palatable to watch on screen.
So did you know they made it into a movie? The conceit of the pod, did you know?
No!
They did! The whole season we're doing on the films and adaptations of Martin Scorsese. Dude made The Aviator in 2004. Let's watch a trailer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Howard Hughes.
I care very much about aviation. Fastest man on the planet.
Oh, marvelous.
He saw the future.
I'm not gonna believe this. Howard Hughes has bought TWA.
Let's build a plane that flies above the weather.
Across the country, across the world.
If you do that, you could lose everything.
Well, I won't.
He lived the dream.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Feel like a little adventure, Miss Hepburn.
Do your worst, Mr. Hughes.
I have heard some disquieting rumors about Mr. Hughes.
I'd like to know everything there is to know.
See, I want to learn what pleases you.
Howard, you're mad, man.
He thought nothing could stop him.
You have to be very careful.
My investigators have turned up a lot of dirt.
You want to go to war with me? You know, sometimes I get these crazy ideas about things that may not really be there.
I'll have him dragged here to Washington. I want to see the whites of his lies.
We are in a street fight, and I'm not gonna lose. He owns Pan Am, he owns Congress, but he does not own the sky.
Beyond the wealth,
You want me to bribe senators?
I don't want them bribed, Jack. I want them bought.
something drove him.
You have called me a liar and a thief and a war property.
Beyond the legend,
Federal warrant.
Everything in these offices is the private property of Hughes Productions.
something consumed him.
They are touching things.
Beyond the genius,
The deadline is now completely unrealistic.
No, I want to see the blueprints again. Show me all the blueprints. Show me all the blueprints. Show me all the blueprints.
is the truth behind the man.
I'll get a doctor. No one sees him like this.
Sometimes I truly fear that I'm losing my mind.
There's nothing there, Howard.
Will you marry me?
You're too crazy for me.
She'll go faster.
The Aviator.
Howard Hughes was a wealthy, fail son who stumbled his way into a career as a Hollywood producer and airplane manufacturer, despite his germophobia, pedophilia, and generally shitty behavior. But goddammit was he charismatic. So, I want to do a little different tack tonight than what we normally do. I don't want to get too in the weeds about Howard Hughes, who he was and what he did. Because I think we could both agree, he's a bit of a shithead.
I'm nodding profusely.
And this isn't a podcast about crazy people or shitheads. If you want that, go check out Behind the Bastards with Robert Evans or Profiles in Eccentricity with, what do the Piss Boys call themselves? I mean, they call themselves Piss Boys. They usually come up with really fun pornographic nicknames for themselves. But Aaron Pita, Matt Brousseau, and John something? Fuck. We went to a live taping of theirs way back in the day. Great podcast. Both of them great podcasts. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about how movies get adapted from source material. And is this the first biography we've done?
I think so. I don't think we've covered a real person before.
Yeah, because we've done like historical documents like 8 Men Out.
Yeah.
And I think there was another one we did. But this would be the first that's like an exploration of a life, essentially. So basically, what I want to get at tonight is
adaptation. Sorry.
Oh yeah, adaptation was the other one. That exists in its own world as its own thing.
Yes.
But what I want to get at tonight is how do you take a dry historical document like Howard Hughes' The Secret Life and make it into a film that, like I said, joked earlier, I found this film wildly entertaining. It won 5 Oscars, nominated for 11. Generally well-received film. Like, how do you take your book into my movie? What through lines from the book do you highlight? What do you cut, and why? And I kind of want to try and get to the heart of that through the lens of a great American filmmaker like Martin Scorsese. So, I guess where I want to begin is the bookends of this movie. The opening scene and the final scene of the film are the same scene. It is Howard, 10 years old, standing in a bathtub being scrubbed down by his mother as she defines the word quarantine for him and explains to him, I believe it was a cholera epidemic that was happening in Houston at the time where he grew up. And that's the only thing we see of his childhood. It's the only element of his parents we see. We hear about their wealth in the following scene and that they're now dead and it's his. And that's it. So my question, I guess, is what role do his parents play in his life? Why only show that one moment? And do you have a thought on that?
So his mother was a wealthy society heiress, She did, in fact, have hypochondria and germophobia, and that is something that people conjecture led to his germophobia and instability later in life. His father was a wildcatter, so he chased oil around, basically trying to get it before trying to buy up claims and purchase it, and that's where some of the wealth came from. Most of the wealth came from the fact that he was a significant inventor of a very specific kind of drill bit. That then, over the course of his life and then his son's life, the Hughes Tool Company diversified into, like, I think at the end of Howard Hughes's life, it was like 400 different types of tool bits, all based on this one original drill bit. And the book goes into detail about, like, the specifics and why it was so important.
Yeah.
But that's where all their money came from.
Okay.
His father was kind of dragged his mother around because of the wildcat lifestyle, and any sort of stability that Howard experienced as a child. He never really finished a year of school. He was constantly being pulled out. He spent some time at Camp Dan Beard, which was basically a Boy Scout camp, and he loved it there, and he basically threw a hissy fit till he was allowed to go back. And then once he went back, he pretended he was sick so that his mother would send him letters and fuss over him. Basically, he spent his entire childhood manipulating his mother, and to an extent, his mother and father both let him get away with having no stability, and anytime he did start to get stability, they would rip him out of it. I think over the course of his school age years, he went to like 6 different schools. He never officially graduated because they pulled him out before he graduated. It was like a whole weird thing. So basically, his parents he was very young when they died. I believe he was 20.
Yeah, he was pretty young, because we find out that they died while he's on the set of Hell's Angels would have been 27, because it was pretty early on in the shoot.
So they are dead before then.
Okay, yeah. Like they had recently passed when we basically start the film proper.
Yeah, he essentially, even though he's between 18 and 20, he basically manages to convince the estate that he should in fact be given access to all of the money and the running of the company, and he basically, to an extent, proves his capability at manipulation, if nothing else, in setting up the Hughes Tool Company and getting into aviation and getting into pictures.
Yeah. Which is the bulk of the movie. I probably should have cleared this up with you before asking that question. The movie focuses on his aviation career, specifically from 27 till about 47. And also highlights some aspects of his film producing career, as well as a handful of his relationships. More are hinted at, but it mostly focuses on Katharine Hepburn, Ava Gardner, and what was the 15-year-old's name? Faith something Frenchish? I know, you read so many names. I shouldn't have even asked. It'll come to me.
Basically, if there was a famous woman between the 20s and the 60s, this author assumes that he fucked her.
Yeah, which, I mean...
Except Ava Gardner, interestingly, she never slept with him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, so like... Oh, and the other aspect of his life it focuses on, obviously, is the extreme OCD and his mental health decline during that period. Yeah. Which includes a legendary, I think, 3-month stay in basically a screening room, peeing in bottles and only contacting Kleenex.
So I don't believe it's in that time frame, but basically as he moves around the world, to avoid paying income tax to whatever country he lives in at the time, he buys out entire floors of hotels, if not buying the hotel outright. And he will only communicate with his aides. He will only eat specific foods to the extent of towards the end of his life. He flies in crates of orange juice from California. He flies in American milk to the Bahamas because he doesn't trust it because black people might have touched it. That is not a joke.
Yeah, all of the racism is completely cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
Just gone. Very sanitized.
It's not made super clear why he pees in bottles. It's hinted that he thinks people will see it. But if that's his concern, he also just straight up spends some periods of time peeing on the floor and covering it up with tissues, or he'll pee on the door of the bathroom. This is a deeply mentally disturbed individual.
Yeah, like, and the peeing in bottles thing, he probably doesn't have a reason, or at least not a logical one to one of sound mind. It's when you're in a mental health crisis, things that don't make sense normally make sense to do. I actually empathized a bit during some of his mental breakdowns, because Leonardo DiCaprio plays the role. He also suffered from OCD when he was a kid, and it came back while playing the role. And fuck, did it help his performance be good? It was a really good performance. The way he would repeat phrases and be unable to stop. And you can see like the tension in his hands as he's trying to force his body to do something it's not doing. He's trying to force his mind to do something it's not doing. Like, I mean, you've known me a while, Codie.
Have I?
I've had some mental health crises in my past.
Have you?
There's a big one I can think of where we were doing yoga and my body shut down and I went completely nonverbal for like an hour.
Something like that,
and
yeah.
I still don't know what the fuck happened. But I stopped. I had to stop. I had to just completely turn off everything for a while and lay there. Reset. I had a factory reset, basically, yeah. But like I could definitely see like that kind of thing happening. I don't know where my point was gonna land here. But I guess what I'm saying is like with this character, so to speak, focusing on just this portion, this 20-year portion of his life, would you say, having read the whole biography, is that an appropriate section to cover? Is there something specific about that section that you could consider why a filmmaker would only cover those 20 years? It doesn't really follow an arc like it does in the film, because his arc is he starts wanting to make a really fast airplane, and by the end of the film he owns TWA, which at least up until our childhood was a very famous airline, Trans World Airlines as we grew up knowing it. He succeeded in breaking the airspeed record when he tried. The Hercules flew, the Spruce Goose, as you at home may know it better, and he succeeded in his goals, and that's kind of where the arc ends. Would you say that's evident in the biography? Is that missing the forest for the trees, or?
So the biography, like I said earlier, is a little over 300 pages. This portion of it, that 20 years, and some of it is referenced later in the book as well, but the bulk of that is about 90 pages.
Wow.
It is about, from what you've explained to me about where the movie begins to where it ends, is from about page 40, which is in, I think, chapter 4, to about page 133, which is chapter 10.
Jesus.
So I can see why Scorsese would pick. Is it okay? Also, I'm gonna get people yelling at me. Is it Scorsese or how is that pronounced?
So I've heard Scorsese all my life. I've heard in the last couple of years it's actually pronounced Scorsese. In my research today, because I'm going to be doing chunks of research on the man himself as we go through this season, because I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
It's his grandparents, I believe, were the first generation of his family in the States, and it was I think they're all Sicilian, and it was not spelled the way it's spelled now. And I think it's probably closer to incoming bad Italian accent, Scorsese, I think.
That would track.
But I don't think it really matters, because it's like, ooh, Scorsese was the baseball player, but Scorsese was the guitarist. It's not something like that. It's like, you know who we're fucking talking about. It's Martin Scorsese. I've just been pronouncing it Scorsese the last couple of years because of a thing I heard once. But
okay. So
if we can get him on to explain it to us, if any of you listeners can get us in touch with old Marty, we'd love to have him on.
This is a genuine invitation, unlike the invitation to Kenneth Branagh.
Are you saying that's not a genuine invitation? I want Branagh in this room. I want Toby on his lap, and I need him to confront his sins.
This is an invitation to fight Kenneth Branagh.
Verbally. I just have some questions for him.
Okay, so the aside, there is kind of an arc there, because he does go from relative unknown to America's hero when he completes his flight around the world. And he also is kind of exploding as a producer at the same time. He really is kind of the man who has everything. And ultimately, the flight of the Spruce Goose, the Hercules, proving the doubters wrong, and the trial is kind of the last good moment of his life.
Okay. So it's a place to end it on a high note, and then you're following that 3-act structure, like starts at the bottom, raises to these heights by the end of Act 1, crashes to his lowest point in the end of Act 2, and then Act 3 he gets his redemption.
Yeah, because like the movie would almost be. You could make an entirely separate second Scorsese movie about all of the shit that happens in the back end of his life, and it would feel completely different. It would feel like a mafia movie. It would feel like The Godfather Part 2.
Okay, yeah, because I think parts of that might actually be loosely based on Hughes.
It would make sense.
When you had your rant earlier and I said you sold some untruths,
yeah,
it was not Scorsese that brought this man to the public eye. This is like the 6th movie made about Howard Hughes. It's... In fact, you know what? I'm gonna read the list right now. Here is a list of other director and actor pairs that all were in talks or trying to make a Hughes biopic prior to 2004's picture. And there's been one after. I think Warren Beatty did one in 2016.
Okay.
Brian De Palma wanted Nick Cage to play Hughes.
Oh my god, Nick Cage is too likable.
The Hughes brothers, who let me refresh my memory here, because oh god, they did some popular films that I just can't remember the name, which I don't believe there's any relation. Menace to Society, The Book of Eli. Mm-hmm. The Hughes brothers, they are absolutely not related. They are Iranian Armenians. The Hughes brothers wanted Johnny Depp to play Howard Hughes.
Ew, okay.
Milos Forman, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Edward Norton.
Yeah, Edward Norton could probably pull it off.
I could see Edward Norton doing it. Norman Jewison, who I can tell by your face, you do not know who that is.
Nope, sure don't.
In the Heat of the Night and Moonstruck.
Okay. Two very different movies.
But two critically acclaimed films. In the Heat of the Night is one of my favorites. Norman Jewison wanted John Travolta to play Howard Hughes.
Was that in the 80s?
I'm not sure when they were working on that one, but that sounds right. And the last attempt, this was around 2002, Christopher Nolan and Jim Carrey.
Knowing where Jim Carrey is now, I could see that working.
Because he was getting close to, at that time, breaking out of the comedy. Because he was around, it was around the time he did, was the Number 23?
Had he done The Majestic at that point as well?
It was around that time, yeah.
Truman Show.
Truman Show was late 90s.
Yeah.
I still call Truman Show a comedy, but it is a dark comedy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was breaking out of that, 1994 The Mask, Dumb and Dumber era. And then this film, of course, wasn't originally Scorsese either. It was Michael Mann. Heat.
Okay. So it's fascinating, especially if they were trying to do one in the 80s, because towards the end of Howard Hughes' life, I believe he died in 78 or 79, he was engaged in several legal battles to prevent his biography from being written. He literally created a shell company to have the rights of his own life story so he could sue anyone else trying to write it.
I wonder how many of the films about him after came out of fucking spite then.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of them. This man did not have friends.
And that also, like, something I brought up last night after I finished watching this with you. I wonder if part of why they focused on this era of his life was because those hearings happened. And so much of this became public knowledge because, public trial, so to speak, or public hearing.
Yeah. There's a lot of bibliography associated with this book. Literally the last about 30 pages after the end of the story itself are the author saying, these are all the documents that I consulted, these are further notes on the documents I consulted, this is the bibliography of documents and books and works that I consulted.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's well researched, but it's definitely deeply researched.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair.
And he does indeed reference the court proceedings. A lot of the stuff he references that are actual quotes are pulled from the later hearings post Watergate. Considering that like this book was written in 92. I believe it was written in 92, published in 93. I'm just going to double check this copy here.
It was published in 93, I know that.
Yes, so it was published in 93, it was written in 92. What the big draw of this book was the fact that it revealed his bisexuality for the first time publicly, because all of that had been stricken from pretty much all of his personal notes and memoirs. But he carried on an on-again, off-again affair with Cary Grant for like 30 years.
I mean, who alive in Hollywood at that time didn't?
It's also strongly implied, although I don't know how well I like this implication, it is strongly implied that Howard Hughes was dying of AIDS when all of his other drug problems essentially killed him. The author is very careful to couch that in this matches this symptomology. We know that he wouldn't have known what was going on because it was too early. We wouldn't have known what was going on as the public because it was too early, but descriptions of his symptoms, the notes by his doctors, etc., all seem as though he was dying of some sort of wasting disease. But also, the man was in how many plane accidents and was in constant...
at least 2.
debilitating pain from that.
Yeah. It's interesting that his bisexuality is kept out of this film. Yes, it was 2004. It wasn't quite as popular to allow characters to be queer, especially in major pictures at the time.
Yeah.
But that said, the screenwriter John Logan is openly gay. We talked about him briefly in the past. He wrote Gladiator, he wrote Skyfall, and he wrote former episode of the pod, The Time Machine.
Oh, God.
Yeah, wild. Like, that dude wrote some banger movies. He's a playwright as well. I think he won a Tony for a play called Red, which is about Rothko.
Okay.
Which I think I read about briefly. I don't think I read it, but I read about it when we were in college. I'm not sure if you did. But it's fascinating that the screenwriter, who I think was attached before Scorsese was to this film, kept that element out.
What was the rating of this?
Like MPAA?
PG, yeah.
I think it was R, based on language. Let me double check. It's weird. Motion picture ratings are something I cared so deeply about until I turned like 17. And then all of a sudden it didn't matter anymore. That's the Aviator. Oh no, it's 13. Which is weird because you get a lot of his ass.
Man ass isn't PG?
It's also usually in, like, shadow. No, you know what? I did know that because it's the only Scorsese DiCaprio picture that's PG-13.
Of course. I mean, I think it does speak to Hollywood at the time, and even now it's rare.
You know what? If he were queer, it probably would have had an R.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, what movie were we watching the other day? Notebook got away with showing a woman orgasming on screen.
Yeah, but I don't think you saw titties. Oh, no, you did see titties in that movie, didn't you?
You did.
Huh.
Not at the same time.
Wow, that was the same year.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, it's interesting because, like, that's one of the big, like, selling points of this book is that he's like, oh, I'm revealing his gay affairs.
Yeah.
But it's like, after about the Spruce Goose, you really never hear about... It's, like, touched on that he basically had call boys, and he would occasionally, like, bone some of his actors, but it's really not something that the author focuses on.
I wonder if that's also partially because that's when he leaves Hollywood and starts living elsewhere. If I'm not mistaken, that's around the time.
Yeah, that's when he starts jumping. But, like, a significant portion of the time he does go to Vegas. He basically owns Vegas.
Yeah, but Vegas isn't Hollywood. There was a very vibrant gay scene in Hollywood that was completely secret until... I need to find this guy's name. Give me a second here. John Fahey was the Profiles in Eccentricity guy's name, the third one. I knew I'd get there eventually. Scotty Bowers, that's his name. Scotty Bowers is a guy who lived in Hollywood, and I think he owned a gas station with a back room, that he just facilitated gay hookups and kept his secret until everyone involved was already in their grave, and then wrote a book about it. And it's a fascinating story.
It seems like a lot of definitely the most prominent. Basically, if there was a male in one of his movies, he slept with him during the time of filming and then just kind of cast them aside. Except for Cary Grant, he, like I said, carried on the affair with Cary Grant for quite a while. Mm-hmm. It was like 20 years. I think Cary Grant was one of the few people, I don't think he was at the funeral, but he was one of the few people who, like, knew a lot about him in his later years. And it seems like the bulk of his, I don't want to call it this, but he treated all sex as predatory, so his kind of gay predator activities mostly took place in San Francisco.
He was an equal opportunity predator.
Yes. Yeah. The author goes out of his way to say that he only ever really viewed sex as a satisfaction for himself. He was not a good lover. He was very selfish. And he also apparently was not super good in bed, which is why he fucked so many women, because he needed to prove that he was good in bed, even though he wasn't.
Well, I mean, if you're not good in bed, you go quantity over quality, right? That's how that works?
Sure. The Elon Musk playbook.
Ugh. How many kids is he up to?
Too many.
But yeah, like I said, it's interesting that the gay screenwriter left the gay subplots out. He also left out all of the bigotry and racism.
Yeah.
And I have a theory about that. If you're trying to sell a movie, first of all, let me be clear. Making a film about someone or something or an event is not an endorsement of said person or thing or event. Never has been, never will be. People need to remember that because we don't teach media literacy in our schools anymore. That said, if you're expecting your audience to sit down for nearly 3 hours and follow the story of someone's life, you have to make them kind of likable. And that's something that I actually think the film did very well, was walking that balance. And it's partially because they cut out the racism stuff. I would not have said the same thing if he was dropping the N-word or the K-word or the R slur or the F slur every, 3 sentences like he, I think, did in real life.
The only documented time that he used the F slur was when he was trying to blackmail somebody somebody who was trying to blackmail him. So he said, "Oh, I'll just say that your husband is an F slur."
Okay.
But the more common one was the K slur. He really liked the K slur.
I know you mentioned that one to me. And I think that would have tipped the scales too far in one direction had they included that in the film. They did make it very clear that he is super vain and egotistical. There are so many occasions where characters straight up call him an asshole. Uh-huh. The one that I picked out, the first time he crashes a plane, it's right after he breaks the speed record and then crashes in a beet field. Did he actually crash in a beet field, or was that...
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, in the film, he does. And as the plane is going down, the people watching from the airstrip, no one reacts, "Oh no, Howard, our good friend. We better go save him." One guy goes, "Well, there goes our meal ticket." And it's very clear throughout that the people that he surrounds himself with, who the film kind of tells us care for him at the end. I'm talking about Dietrich, played by John C. Reilly, and Odekirk, or Odie.
He fucks both of them over.
Yeah. They seem to like him at the end. But when we're introduced to Dietrich, when he gets hired, he's like, "I'm going to pay you double what you're making currently, but you're going to work 4 times as hard." Like, he immediately is like, "Here's more money, but I own you." And he calls these guys at 2 a.m, like, "Tomorrow you need to go to Penny's." "No, Woolworths. No, make it Penny's. I need 2 suits, 1 light, 1 dark, 3 white shirts, 3 pairs of white tennis." Like, 2 a.m. Crazy behavior. He bugs Ava Gardner's house.
Yes. That is 100% true.
Absolute psychopath behavior.
He, not only does he bug Ava Gardner's house, he has her followed for years. And this is not the only woman that he does this with.
Yeah. But one of the most telling moments is actually one that Mark, our co-host on The Treatment, a podcast about stories, wherever you get your podcasts. Mark also watched this last night. And there's a scene, the second time he crashes a plane, when he crashes the spy plane into Beverly Hills.
Yep.
He escapes the plane, gets pulled from the fire, gets put out by a passing army man. And he looks at the army man and he says, "I'm Howard Hughes, the Aviator." And the army man's like, yeah, cool. Anybody else in there? And he's like, "No, just me." And then 2 people run out of the burning building past them. Just the complete egotistical narcissism of this man, even like as he crashes his plane into a house. Because, and I read this in my research, it failed, but he absolutely did not fly it right after that. The way it crashed was absolutely avoidable.
Yes. He did not do proper safety checks. He insisted on flying over a populated area, bypassing Army and Air Force regulations, because he should not have been doing it over a populated area.
Yep.
He killed a dog?
You know, it could have been a lot worse.
Oh,
he could have flown into a school.
This is true. His body count by the end of the book of people that he is directly responsible for killing is 8.
Thank you for defining body count, because his other body count is way higher than 8.
Yes. Yeah, his body count of people he is directly responsible, and I'm not including indirectly for, is 8 people. He kills 4 people alone during the filming of The Outlaw. Or Hell's Angels.
I think it's Hell's Angels, because they do mention that a few of the pilots died during stunt flying.
Yes. And also that crash, the Beverly Hills crash, that's the one that essentially debilitates him and ultimately leads to his death.
Yes, because he leaves it, I think he's got like 76% of his body is burned. It's actually a very funny bit of dialogue with John C. Reilly in the film. Because the doctor's explaining, like, 76% of his body is burned. His ribs are shattered, not cracked, shattered. The whole left side of his chest is caved in. His heart's moved to his right. Both legs are broken. We've been giving him transfusions every hour. Wait. Whose blood? Stock blood. Oh, he's not going to like that.
Yep, that's accurate. This man was weird.
And it's what I was saying earlier with him being a shithead even in the movie. Like, I picked it up immediately, the way he treats his actors in Hollywood on set of Hell's Angels. You're not supposed to like him watching this movie. But they have to make him likable enough, charismatic enough to follow him for 3 hours. So it's bits of dialogue like that John C. Reilly is one of those great actors that can play drama, but he has that sense of comedic timing.
Yeah.
And the movie is filled with little bits of comedy. Like, oh, who's gonna want to, or what's the line about titties? the movie line is like, who's gonna want to watch a movie that's just about titties? Everyone loves. Who doesn't love titties? And then just hard cut to the Motion Picture Association censorship board, and he has like his scientist friend with a protractor showing titty size or cleavage amounts that were allowed previously compared to the cleavage in The Outlaw. Very funny scene. And he's such an asshole. But when you're removed from this asshole by, 80 years, you can smile at it. You can laugh at it, I think that's where this movie really succeeds in telling his story. Doesn't go full asshole. But it's enough there that if you do any more research, you realize, oh yeah, this dude absolutely was a prick.
It's kind of like the Steve Jobs biopics, the 2 that we got. Or
in like 6 months.
Or like the Social Network.
Mm-hmm.
Those are absolutely not flattering portrayals of the people involved in them. The Steve Jobs biopics are a little bit more.
Yeah, because he had just died when those came out, too.
Yeah, but it kind of feels like a prototype of how you tell the story about someone who is a deeply fucked up human being.
Yeah, and that's something that Scorsese in his past has done a decent amount of. He's done a handful of biopics. He did Raging Bull, which was Jake LaMotta. One of his earliest films was a film called Boxcar Bertha, which is based on an autobiography of someone named Boxcar Bertha. For the record, they have been removed from the wheel. We're not going to accidentally randomize ourselves into doing 4 Scorsese biopics.
It would be very funny, though.
It would have been, but we made it so that will not happen. Never you worry. But I think it's important for that kind of movie to allow the audience to remove itself from the person's life. When this came out in 2004, he died in late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already 25 years past his death. So audience members may have remembered him from late in life, but when you're, 70, 80 years past the events of the film, nobody alive seeing this movie is going to remember it at the time. And I think that's how biopics should be done. I think that's what works about it, is you have that level of separation from reality, both in like fictionalizations and in actual time.
Sorry, I'm confirming the year of his death in the last chapter. He died in 1976.
Okay, yeah, so nearly 50 years. 50 years? Nope.
50 years now.
Nearly 30 years after his passing. Like...
Sorry, I'm trying to confirm because this is very fucking confusingly worded. I believe it's 75.
It's 76. I checked Wikipedia.
Thank you. Because he says this thing happened in 1975 and then doesn't mention another year, just starts mentioning months.
Yeah. But like when this movie came out, granted I was 14, all I knew about Howard Hughes was parody from The Simpsons. When Burns wants to make I think he makes the spruce caboose, I think is what it is. It's a train. And he's got his fingernails and his hair's all long and shit. And this was 10 years before the movie came out, when that episode came out.
I wonder if that was in the wake of the book.
You know what? Probably. That's a really good point. Is there anything else thematically you want to talk about? Adaptationally? Like, I think I hit the points I wanted to hit.
I wonder, like, the culture of the U.S. at the time, 2004, was still pretty, like, gung-ho Americana.
Especially in 2004. Because we were still in the wake of 9/11, the invasion of Iraq was happening.
Yeah. I wonder, like, how much of that encouraged or influenced Scorsese in his choice to do this. Because Howard Hughes' company, this author makes the argument, and I don't know how realistic it is, that his company was in cahoots with the CIA in creating secret weapons for them and surveillance technology and that kind of thing. So I wonder how much of that, like...
Considering none of that was in the film.
I know, but I'm just thinking, like, if that's why he was thinking about, like, oh, this guy was an American hero.
I wonder if he had the opposite, because, like, where we grew up, everything was American flags and rah-rah USA, freedom fries and all that shit.
Ugh.
In Hollywood, it wasn't quite that. Hollywood was, at least a lot of the, not the studio heads and whatnot, but a lot of the creators out here were critical of the U.S. government. And I wonder if he saw that in this with, because like the climax of this is simultaneously the flight of the Spruce Goose as well as the hearings.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he wanted to remind us through those hearings, that historical event, that, oh yeah, some of these people in U.S. government are corrupt as shit and in the pocket of big business and are pushing bills to, like, where's the real difference between Pan Am funding a bill to nationalize international air travel and, like, Halliburton and the shit Halliburton was doing that I don't remember because I was 14. But I know Dick Cheney and Halliburton, and go watch Vice. It's all in there.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, that trial is essentially Howard Hughes being put on trial for fucking over the U.S. government. And it's not proven in the trial that he didn't. Essentially, he's just like, yeah, I did it, but also, look at how much of your money they're wasting putting me on trial.
Yeah, he's like, $56 million of taxpayer dollars went to these planes that didn't fly, and this other plane that didn't get built in time to serve in the war, but will fly, I promise you. But also, the U.S. government spent $1 billion in planes that didn't fly and weapons that didn't fire and other things from other contractors that didn't make the war. And that's still happening now. There's a fighter jet that the U.S. government has sunk, I think, trillions into at this point that has never lifted off.
Well, and also you've got the whole insane way that the budgeting works, which is basically you have to spend everything you make or your budget gets cut.
Yeah, I think that might have been an influence for him as well. That's pure speculation on my part. I did actually find actual influence for him. When Scorsese was a kid, he had severe asthma. and he couldn't participate in sports. And he fell in love with cinema. And his generation, you know, didn't necessarily grow up on Howard Hughes movies specifically, but grew up on filmmakers inspired by Howard Hughes. And I'm sure he, just like DiCaprio had OCD when he was a kid, I'm sure he saw a lot of himself in Hughes, in that my health is limiting me. How do I, like, you know, how do I, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
overcome?
Yeah, how do I overcome that? How do I progress beyond that and do something more? And there's nothing Hollywood loves more than praising how good Hollywood is at being Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
So I think
how many Oscar winners are about movie makers or actors and how difficult it is to be those people?
Well, like The Artist, Argo, what other Best Picture winners in recent years? Is it bad that I could come up with 2 immediately? But yeah, I think that's a big part of why he went with this as well. But I feel like the more research I did, this wasn't his baby as much as it was the screenwriters, whose name is no longer on my screen. John Taylor? Did I get that right? John Logan, excuse me. It's more John Logan's baby than Scorsese's. But, I mean, how many directors did I name wanted to make fucking movies based off this guy's life? And I think it's just because, as hateable as he is as a human being, his story is fascinating in a looking at roadkill kind of way.
It's when I was yelling at you at some point, yelling in your
yelling
direction.
Toward me.
Yes, yelling in your direction, not yelling at you.
No, part of you was yelling at me because I made you read this book.
This is true. I am so tired of reading about and hearing about and watching movies about people who are only able to do the things that they do, or are these incredibly creative or successful or famous people, and it's because they had millions of dollars behind them. There were no consequences for their failure, and that's why they could come up with the insane idea to, I'm going to create a movie that is just a hair off of softcore porn, and it's exactly the kind of porn that I like, and I'm gonna make other people watch it too. What do you mean the censors won't let me show it? Fine, I'm gonna make a new movie with explosions and titties.
You know what? Those movies sound great, though. I'd watch it.
And then it just... And granted, some of this is coming from our current political climate, because, oh god, I'm so tired of hearing about Elon Musk.
Yes.
But it's just like... This book is an exercise in how this man can avoid consequences, and the answer is always money. And it's just kind of disheartening.
So I'm going to pull out something, dust off the old anti-capitalist soapbox here. The other side of that same coin is, it's a shame. It's a fucking shame that it requires unfathomable amounts of wealth to do groundbreaking shit in capitalist society. The bookends of this film, like I mentioned before, the opening scene is his mom explaining quarantine. The closing scene is the second part of that scene in the bath, and she asks, what do you want to do with your life, basically? And he says, I want to make movies that people love. I want to fly airplanes. I want to be the fastest man in the sky. And he gets to do that. Only because he mortgages his father's wealth. He mortgages that company and funds this plane for a decade. He only gets to make this movie he wants to make because he has access to money and time. And how many people are out there that don't have that same level of access that could do even greater things? And the world will never see it because society requires funds. And you've got one guy like Elon Musk out there who thinks he's fucking Howard Hughes. And he's like, I want to make great things. And he buys a website and destroys it. And he buys a car company and makes it like the fucking current version of 1930s Volkswagen. And he, you know, funds rockets to go into space, which is something that, you know, 50 years ago, the US government was funding. And we put a man on the fucking moon. And that is one of humanity's greatest accomplishments in the history of our, you know, existence on this planet. Leaving it is fucking awesome. And now NASA can't operate without SpaceX. Or Boeing, and Boeing fucking leaving astronauts on the ISS because they can't trust their aircraft or spacecraft to bring them back down. And it's a fucking shame that we can't just have the government fund this shit.
Do they talk at all about the Howard Hughes Medical Institute?
Nope.
So that was basically his tax shelter.
Oh, is that why he's labeled a philanthropist in some descriptions?
Yes. He had the Howard Hughes Medical Trust, which still exists and actually now does fucking do research. But at the time, he was using it as a tax shelter, and he was diverting something like 0.2% of all profits to research. He was supposed to be 4% is the minimum that you're supposed to divert to maintain tax-free status. But essentially, he was just using it as a way to not pay taxes.
Yeah.
But he supposedly was going to be doing research into genetic and the other genetic and not heart disease type stuff, but he wanted to look into things like diabetes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because his mom and dad both died of basically like congenital heart problems.
And dude was fucking terrified of any disease his whole life.
Yes, he was. It definitely, in his worst stages of paranoia, it definitely got worse. But yeah, he was more or less low-key afraid of...
everything.
Everything, all the time.
Except for flying. He loved fucking flying. And you know what? I will credit him this. He had the balls to fly his own planes.
Yeah.
And that is... If he had stayed away from Hollywood and focused everything on aircraft, I think we would have a more favorable opinion of him now. Because I do believe he did advance, like, flying. I mean, like I said, TWA, which he bought, according to the film, while he was flying around the world. Like I said, it was a name brand in air travel up until our childhoods. Until, like, the last flight I remember was the one that went down, Flight 800.
Oh, yeah, that was TWA.
Yeah, that was all over the news when I was a kid. I remember that.
Yeah.
But, he... And the bill he was fighting in his trial with the government, I think he was on the right side of history there. In terms of free market and legality, I think he was right. It would have been a monopoly if Pan Am had the only international travel. That said, I also don't believe corporations should exist at all. But if they're going to exist, let them, be free to exist and do what they want to do within reason. Good work, old soapbox. But yeah. So I think it's fascinating that the man wanted to be referred to as an aviator. When he was on fire after crashing a plane, he wasn't Howard Hughes the filmmaker, Howard Hughes the philanthropist. He was Howard Hughes the aviator.
Yeah, in the throes of his life, towards the end of it, the only thing that really like perked him up and got him excited was the idea of flying and being in planes.
And I think maybe that's the point of this movie covering the era it covered and being called what it's called, is the little I knew about Howard Hughes prior to the film coming out was crazy old guy. And before watching the film, what I knew about him most was germaphobe, OCD, film producer. And there's a film about him called The Aviator. I don't get that. And Spruce Goose. And I just always lumped in Spruce Goose with eccentric billionaire. I did not know how much of a hand he played in the progression of aviation during its early days. And that might be like just a reminder, this dude was a shithead, this dude was crazy. You wouldn't be able to hop on a plane to Canada to flee this country if it weren't for him.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about some of the people that made this?
Yeah.
So we talked about Scorsese. We talked about John Logan. I should remember his name at this point. I didn't do my normal amounts of research on this cast because, well, Hughes is played by Leonardo DiCaprio. You know who that is. Katharine Hepburn was played by Cate Blanchett. She won an Oscar for this. Ava Gardner is played by Kate Beckinsale. Noah Dietrich, his right-hand man, was played by John C. Reilly. Juan Trippe of Pan Am was played by Alec Baldwin. Senator Ralph Owen Brewster was played by Alan Alda. Professor Fitz was played by Ian Holm. John Huston's kid, Danny Huston, played Jack Fry. Gwen Stefani, in her first role, played Jean Harlow.
What a weird...
He needed some... This is what I read today. Scorsese needed someone with the right tits and saw her on a billboard in New York.
Sure. Fair enough.
Errol Flynn was played by Jude Law in one fucking scene.
Yep. He was dating Jean Harlow, right?
I believe so. Adam Scott plays his publicist, Johnny Meyer.
Oh, he's a publicist in the...
Publicist with scare quotes around it. Glenn Odenkirk was played by Matt Ross. Brent Spiner played Robert E. Gross. Willem Dafoe plays Roland Sweet. Just every scene, a new actor pops up like, oh my god, you're here? It's wild to watch. Not in the cast, but was asked to be in the film, was Angelina Jolie. Do you know why she turned it down?
Was she making Tomb Raider at the time?
No. She found out Harvey Weinstein was producing.
Good for you, Angelina!
The amount of respect I gained for Angelina fucking Jolie for that. Oh my god.
Common Angelina W.
In 2004. Like, this is the height of their shit. And no one outside of Hollywood knew yet. And she's like, I'm not working with that fucking prick. Like, hell yeah. Also in the cast, but cut from the movie, Jane Lynch is Amelia Earhart.
Okay.
I love that casting. That's so much fun.
That's very fun.
I mentioned it was nominated for 11 Academy Awards. The 5 it won were cinematography, film editing, costume design, art direction, and Cate Blanchett for supporting actress.
I was going to say, I know it didn't win for Best Actor.
Didn't win Best Actor, and I think it was the 5th time Scorsese lost Best Director. He's won it since, but like, man, dude was trying. He was fucking trying. Cinematography was an interesting one. Because I was wondering why the grass was blue the first time he crashes a plane. So what they did in the editing bay was they processed the color for each scene based on how color was processed in that year. And it's something very similar to what he did in Raging Bull, where he shot on equipment used in the years that the scenes take place to add that feel. So in the 30s, color film was done with a two-color technique. It was reds and blues.
Okay.
So there's a scene where Errol Flynn eats one of his peas off his plate, and the peas all look kind of blue. And when he crashes in the beet field, the beets, like all the green is like a shade of blue. And that's because that's how it would have looked at the time. And as the film progresses, the colors get brighter because Technicolor was made. So I thought that was a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's something that's in his wheelhouse. I wanted to make jokes about something that looks funny about these CG planes. They weren't CG, they did models.
Ah, okay.
Because the team did not like how the CG planes in Pearl Harbor looked.
Okay.
So they made some big fucking scale models of the actual planes, the X-11, it was the X-11, HX-11, and the H-4 Hercules. And they were radio controlled and actually flew.
Neat.
And they recreated the actual flight in Long Beach using the model.
All right. That's fun.
Yeah,
that's some effort.
They don't do that shit anymore, man. Like, go back and watch Lord of the Rings. They used models for all that shit, and that movie holds up because they're shooting something real. Pisses me off when everything's fucking CG now.
Marvel.
Speaking of Marvel, Hell's Angels at the time was the most expensive film ever made, with a budget of $4 million in 1930.
Yep.
Do you know how many millions of dollars that was in 2018?
260.
$63 million. Mid-budget. Like, that's the year of, which one, Infinity War? I think was 18? And that was a $200 million budget?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. How much...
also took like an eternity to film. Because he kept changing his mind, and he also kept searching around for the fuckable clouds.
Yeah. Clouds that look like titties full of milk is what he says.
Gross.
Yep.
Gross and weird.
Why he didn't just put the cameras on planes that flew higher and have the speed be shown by the ground is beyond me.
Because you...
because then you'd be able to tell he's shooting in fucking Van Nuys. Duh. Never mind. I answered my own question. I'm going to end on 2 quotes. One is from the review by Roger Ebert. Gave it 4 out of 4. What a sad man. What brief glory. What an enthralling film. There's a match here between Scorsese and his subject, perhaps because the director's own life journey allows him to see Howard Hughes with insight, sympathy, and up to a point with admiration.
Yeah, typical Typical well-stated Ebert.
Yeah, love me some Ebert. And the other quote is actually a quote from the film Quiz Show by a character played by Scorsese himself. You see, the audience didn't tune in to watch some amazing display of intellectual ability. They just wanted to watch the money. And what a fitting quote for Howard Hughes, you know, Hell's Angels, and also why make this movie? Why tune in? I mean, does the audience really care about Hughes, or do you want to see a big budget drama biopic starring Leo DiCaprio, Cate Blanchett?
You're gonna ruin Leo's Oscar chances.
He already won it. He's fine. He got real life shoot attacked by that bear for The Revenant, and it wasn't the candle up the ass that won it. It was the bear from The Revenant.
We all knew we would pick the bear. So,
while I pull up the spinning circle of Scorsese, so we can decide what we do next time, Codie, I'm going to ask you a very dumb question. The book, is it a recommend?
No.
Okay.
It is not. See the first, 7 minutes of this podcast.
So, I'm going to tell you something that you're going to get very mad at me for. In my defense, Wikipedia says it's based on that that biography.
Did you make me read the wrong biography?
The film, in the credits, I did not see it reference any biography specifically, and I found sources that said other biographies were the basis for the script. But Wikipedia says it's that one, Codie! Ow! Oh god! Oh, she's beating me! Ow, actually one of those actually hurt.
You made me read the phrase, he massaged her clitoris for no reason!
Honey, you read fan fiction. You've read that phrase before.
Fan fiction is better! Also, no, I haven't.
Fan fiction is better. Like 50 Shades of Grey. And what's that other shitty one? Divergent? Isn't Divergent a fan fiction? And
No, you're thinking, Mortal Instruments.
Mortal Instruments, that's the one.
Yes.
And My Immortal. And
My Immortal is classic, okay?
Fucking My Immortal. Oh, the old internet still lives in my heart. I recommend the movie. It's pretty long. It's 2 hours 50, I think. But it moves at a real good clip. DiCaprio's electric in it. And he's still relatively young when he makes this. I think he's only 30. And he played Hughes up until his 40s, I think. And that didn't bother me at all. Cate Blanchett is spectacular as Katharine Hepburn. People like to joke about Scorsese needing an editor because his movies are all super fucking long, but his movies are long because they need to be that long to tell the story he's telling. I wouldn't have cut anything. It didn't feel 3 hours. I enjoyed every minute watching it, so I definitely give it a recommend. Now, since you had to read that trash, would you like to spin the circle? Spin the old circle of Scorsese?
I want to hit you with the book again.
That's not the clicker. Why did you click the scroll wheel? That's the right click. Oh my god, Codie. Jesus Christ. Next time out. Oh, yes. Oh, I was hoping it would land on this. Next time out is actually a sequel to a film called The Hustler.
We're doing sequels all over the place.
I don't even care. Next time out is The Color of Money, which I believe stars Tom Cruise and is based on a novel.
I had friends growing up, so I don't know.
I haven't seen this, but I am looking forward to this. I'm actually very excited it landed on this one. I'm winning right now because this is the movie that I've wanted to see for years. It's based on a 1984 novel called The Color of Money. That's your homework for next time out. The Color of Money. Is that a pod? Did we podcast? Did we cast a pod?
I think we casted the pod.
I think we casted a pod. It's the description. There's a link tree in the description.
We were so good. We did the intro so smooth.
Follow us on things. Basically, we're just on Blue Sky at this point. There's also our what was it called? Our high school mixtape Spotify playlist is still on there, which is just fun. We also have our email address on there. If you want to, if we got something wrong, let us know.
Please complain about the way I pronounce words.
Oh, yeah, please. Please reach out to us if you have suggestions for future episodes. We're happy to hear them. Go check out The Treatment, a podcast about stories, available wherever you get your podcasts.
If you want to hear me experiencing joy instead of anger and sadness.
Our most recent episode, we took a Greek historical myth and built a world in which the Greek gods are alien races invading Earth, and the human characters are humans on Earth dealing with that, and it's actually fucking awesome. So please go check that out. But until next time, bye.
Hey, bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Please end the recording.
So cute. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna hit you with the book again. I'm gonna hit you with both copies of the book. No!